All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Virtual, where we dive into VR news, games, and everything virtual, really, on a weekly basis. So I am your host, Zain, along with Ronnie. Ronnie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today because, for new listeners, this podcast started off 5 years ago called Everything Vive because Ronnie and I both had a Vive. At least that was my first VR headset. And obviously it expanded as the VR and virtual reality landscape grew. But there's a special place in my heart for HTC and the Vive, just because that kind of got me into this new world. And we have some interesting, exciting news from HTC finally, because I don't feel like we've talked about HTC in quite a bit outside of just kind of speculation of what their plans are in the future. And to be fair, we are still talking about speculation about what their plans are in the future, but it is based on very real and definitive material that they have released, which is essentially just a tweet. So we're going to share this article with you guys. It's from Tom's Guide, but it's based on a tweet. And actually, here, let's just go ahead and share the article so I can point to exactly what I'm looking at. But HTC released this tweet, literally just says, "It's your move," and shows, a little snippet of the logo there.
Yep.
And a lot of people are thinking that this has something to do with Project Proton, which was announced about a year ago at this point. And to be honest with you, Ronnie, I mean, there's just been so much VR stuff that if I did hear about this, I feel like I've forgotten about it. So it's
so the funny thing is,
I know. So I wanted you to share where this was at in the back of your mind and how this kind of all made sense to you.
Sure. So before any of the articles or anything, like I look over Twitter and I have a lot of VR related, followers and follows or whatever on Twitter. So yeah, I saw HTC Vive make that post. It's your move with the little logo.
Yep.
And I mean, I'll be honest. The first thing I was thinking was like, maybe you should. I was kind of laughing because I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like everybody else has made moves first, but whatever. Like, I was excited to see that.
First.
Yeah, I thought it was funny though that HTC was releasing stuff, and then it was actually even funnier. A couple days later, I don't remember how long it was, but Oculus eventually their Twitter account eventually responded, and what did they say? Like they made like a chess move or something, like what part of the board they're moving, and then they said now it's your move. And so they were kind of like both back and forth, like kind of joking at each other. So I feel like that's fun when the companies can kind of poke fun at each other and play along.
Twitter's a fun way to do that without. Really
so that was cool. But yeah, the tweet itself just shows that kind of matte black, plastic or whatever it is with the Vive logo on it. So you assume that it's some kind of a headset, but doesn't really show you anything. And I had completely forgotten about this Proton headset prototype or whatever.
We should probably dig into the Project Proton.
Yeah, which I remember seeing. That. Like I remember like when you told me, oh yeah, this may have something to do with Project Proton. I was like, what's Project Proton? And then you showed me the link, and I saw these photos, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember when they had kind of hinted.
Those photos.
Yeah, HTC had hinted about a year ago, working on some kind of a headset, and they showed off this kind of like bug eye looking thing. And it looks interesting. I mean, with these, it seems like it could be potentially like an all-in-one headset. I don't know. The second one looks like it has some kind of a cord on it. So I don't know what that would be for, but the top one doesn't. And I mean, really until they actually say what it is, you never really know, but I think what everybody's kind of hoping.
These were mock-ups from like a year ago at this point.
Yeah,
right? So.
I think what everybody's hoping with any kind of new HTC headset is that it's going to be a standalone of some sort, but we don't really know anything. So, I mean, supposedly it's looking like that whatever this project is, or whatever this new potential headset is, that it might be released sooner rather than later. Like it might already be in production. So hopefully we learn more, but I don't know. What's your take on it?
Well, so what the article was talking about, and I guess the headline for the article, which, like I said, we'll share, is Oculus HTC Vive teaser revealed, Oculus Quest 2 rival on the way, question mark. So of course, HTC and Oculus are we'll just go like the original rivals, right? For starting in 2016 when the Vive came out and the Rift, and then the Rift with the touch controllers the following December. Like those were the first two, I would say, like heavy players in the space. And obviously Oculus has kind of accelerated where they've gone in terms of offering the standalone headset, whereas the Vive Pro went in a different direction on a more like enterprise scale and at a different price level too, right? So it was very much consumer versus enterprise. And I think for us, like we're very much on the consumer side of things and the enthusiast side of things. The Vive Pro was fantastic, and I know we've both had a chance to jump into the Vive Pro. You more than me, and really, really liked it. And I don't know how that compares to the Valve Index, which came in. And sorry, I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but Vive and HTC and Oculus being the two kind of like sparring back and forth with one another. It would be really exciting to see HTC launch something that could rival the Quest. And again, this is not about, taking sides. Like I said, HTC has a special place in my heart, but to me, it's just about competition. And I think competition breeds innovation. And for HTC, if they do have something along those lines that can push the envelope just a little bit and really bring something else to the table in either standalone or, if it is tethered, but still, tethered in a way that it provides some other value. Although I gotta say, even just saying that out loud, it's tough. It's got to be if they're trying to compete with the Quest, it's got to be untethered.
I think it's going to be tough regardless. 'Cause the more I'm thinking about it, man, I'm starting. I mean, just based on what I know about what I think is possible in the market, I kind of have a feeling. So okay, let's assume for a second that it is some sort of a semi-standalone device. Where whether that be just like wireless streaming or what, I kind of have so let's say it is a standalone device, kind of like a Quest or a Quest 2. You would assume that it would have to be cell phone, kind of Qualcomm based hardware, kind of like the Quest is.
Yep.
Which is different than a PC, right? It runs different kind of code than a PC would. Just like your phone apps are different from your normal PC apps, the Quest and the Quest 2 apps are different than PC apps. They don't run natively on, back and forth. So that kind of makes me think, from the get-go, a company like HTC releasing a standalone, if it were a Qualcomm-based, like, kind of cell phone-y based technology headset, where, like, my first question is, where would they get native software to run on it? Because right now all the VR software that's designed to run on like an Android based kind of system is all Oculus exclusive in the Oculus store. Like when the Quest came out, they had to re-release all these VR apps kind of from the ground up, like ports that run specifically on the Quest. So you would have to assume that none of that stuff will be compatible with someone else's headset.
True.
So then my question is, I mean, are they going to find a way to get it to natively run certain types of Steam VR titles? That would be awesome. Like if that were possible, but I kind of don't think that the hardware power would be there to either emulate or like somehow. So my gut, so my gut tells me they wouldn't be able to, like, they won't have a large native backlog for this device. Like if they're going to start supporting Android devices or Android-ish VR apps from the ground up, then they could potentially try to get developers to release their VR apps on like a Vive port service or something like that. That's new. That would work on it. So but like that would be an uphill battle, right? They'd be kind of starting from zero and trying to get developers to submit content for some theoretically new, store that they run natively off the device. The other thing though is kind of like the more easy extension of what they've already been doing would be to really empower this device to do wireless streaming off of a PC. And then they could really capitalize on Viveport and all that stuff that they've been doing on the PC side and say, hey, like, your whatever this new wireless device is, it'll play some of these smaller titles that we're going to have in this separate store, but like their main focus would be on allowing you to stream stuff off of a PC. And then they could leverage Viveport and all the stuff that works on the Vive already and just basically give you a way to stream it to this device. I kind of see them like it feels like that would be the more approachable way for them to do it. I could be wrong, but it just seems like to me. And so that kind of puts some of the stuff in perspective of what Oculus has done recently, which is they finally allowed virtual desktop to natively stream from PCs on the Quest. And that was one of those things, like just a little bit of backstory there. Virtual desktop is an application that you can buy from the Quest App Store. And it's, there's a PC version of it as well. But they released it on the Quest App Store for Oculus. But the official Quest version never let you wirelessly stream from a PC. It would let you like do some other stuff, but it wouldn't let you actually do wireless streaming. And Oculus's argument there was always that, oh, well, we're about quality. We want to ensure that the quality's high. And at this time, we don't believe that wireless streaming from a PC is, a good enough experience, blah, blah, blah. And so what Virtual Desktop had to do for that functionality, they had a separate SideQuest version of the app.
Yeah.
That if people really wanted to do wireless streaming, which a lot of people did, they would have to SideQuest it. And then when all the new, we just talked about this. What's the name? App Lab. When App Lab came out, it was essentially kind of a new way to kind of, approve this stuff so that it could work more natively. And when Virtual Desktop resubmitted that wireless streaming stuff to Oculus, it ended up getting approved for the official app rather than an App Lab thing. So now you can just download Virtual Desktop on your Quest, and it automatically works without having to SideQuest or without having to even go to App Lab. And you can just wireless stream from a PC. And the strange thing is, that was kind of a feel-good moment right before Oculus made a different announcement in regards to cloud streaming VR, so as opposed to streaming from your local PC, like in your living room, like let's say I have a PC that can run games here in my office. I can stream wirelessly from my Quest. I can stream wirelessly from that PC to my Quest or Quest 2. But I can't subscribe to like a cloud-based service, for example, and do it that way. Oculus is kind of, drawing a line in the sand and saying, we'll let you stream wirelessly from a local PC, but not from a cloud service. And this could be completely coincidental, but given what we just talked about with HTC and what I think would be the most logical extension of what they've done with Viveport to like some new standalone, like doing local wireless streaming, I wonder if any of that is based on any of their insider knowledge on what HTC might be up to. Like if Oculus knows that HTC is really going to leverage wireless streaming from a PC, maybe them allowing it on Virtual Desktop is like kind of a preemptive move to say, oh yeah, we have that too. Like, I don't know. Like it's just because I like I said, I'm really eager for a competitor on the standalone VR market to the Quest and Quest 2, just because, competition is good. And right now, I mean, for the longest, since the Quest came out, I mean, Facebook is the only option you have if you want a standalone VR experience that's any good. So I want HTC to catch up on that front. I want other players to be in the market. I mean, maybe I'm selling HTC short in terms of what their ambition is here, and maybe they are going to go like, gung ho at creating like their own app store that works. And I mean, to be honest, there's room for that in terms of, I mean, you look at the iPhone ecosystem versus the Android ecosystem. And Apple has a very locked in system. And I'm sure at the beginning, I don't remember exactly how, like which app store became stronger first. I just don't remember. But you would have to have imagined at some point, one of them was stronger than the other, and the other,
Well,
like
I feel
Google
like
is
Apple was there first, right? Or no,
yeah,
maybe
probably
not
you're
first,
probably
but yeah.
right. But no, you're probably right. So like so all I'm saying is this could be HTC's opportunity to start a standalone VR app store or really get one going that's going to
Mhm.
rival Facebook. That could, I mean, I think the logical move would to be to make it more open, similar to what
Yeah.
Android, like Google's Play Store is like, so that for all of these future potential standalone headsets that we keep hearing about that may or may not come from other manufacturers, like if Samsung and HTC and LG and like if we have a future where other people are making standalone VR headsets, they're
Mhm.
going to need an app store. And so maybe
Yeah.
maybe HTC could have an opportunity here to like build a new store also that could be used with more headsets. I don't know.
No, I mean I totally agree with where you're coming from, and I think we've played out this potential storyline before, right? Where and this is not in looking at this in a positive or negative way. It's more so just making parallel comparisons where Facebook is similar to Apple's ecosystem, where it's very closed off and it's very specific in terms of the protocols of what Facebook wants, right? Facebook and Oculus,
Mhm.
and on the flip side of that, and I'm going way back to like Rift and original Rift and Vive times, where the Vive ended up being an ecosystem or a headset that played within the Steam realm, right? And
Mhm.
Steam was that kind of app store, of course, on PC, but that
Yep.
app store that was available to different areas or different headsets that wanted to plug into it.
Yep.
Then HTC came through and built out Viveport, which I don't want to say that it's overachieved. Or I mean, I don't think it's overachieved, but I don't want to necessarily say that it's underachieved. I just think given the relative nature of where everything else has gone, I think Oculus has just gone above and beyond in terms of the content that they've provided.
Mhm.
But HTC has something to build upon. They have a
Mhm.
library of content there. They have a model, and there's an infrastructure already built in. So if they were to expand on that, which it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to do, expand on that and really build out that store on the standalone side, because we know that Steam was just PC based, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And unless Steam is working on something behind the scenes, which would be super cool, but let's not
Yeah.
speculate that far.
Yeah.
But we know that HTC has their foot very heavily into the pool of VR at this point, and if
Mhm.
they are trying to continue competing with Oculus, then they would want to be building out their own ecosystem and a standalone headset and doing all of that. So I
Mhm.
think that's very much within the realm of possibility. And the one thing that I do want to say before we rag on HTC too much, and I feel like we've ragged on HTC quite a bit over the past couple of years and episodes, um, they surprised us with the Vive versus the Rift on that initial launch almost
Mhm.
5 years ago.
Yeah. No, I
So
remember. I mean, granted, they had Valve's kind of backup
exact true,
slash
true.
like. I mean, really, it was Valve.
It was
To a
Val
big
it was
extent.
Valve.
But I agree with you. I mean, up until that point, I mean, fairly close to the launch of the original Rift, it was the Vive was like no one even was thinking about what it
The hype
was.
was all about Oculus and the
Yeah.
Rift.
And
So,
then
yeah,
shortly thereafter, like all of a sudden it was like, wait a second, like what's standalone or no, not standalone,
room scale.
room scale VR.
Yeah,
Like what's that? Like motion, they came with motion controllers way before
yeah,
Oculus was able to. No, so I think, I mean, we're still early in the game. Like obviously
yeah.
Facebook is way ahead in terms of just software support and that sort of thing. But in some ways they're not like we still haven't seen Facebook Horizons. And by all accounts, I mean,
Mhm.
I hear from some people that it's really cool. And I hear from other people, it's like, meh, it's like whatever. So like
Yeah,
until we
we're
actually
still in
see it,
early days. Yeah, we're
yes,
still in early
we're
days.
still in
I'm
early
not.
days. So I agree with you. Like anybody can make an impact. And again, like somebody needs to come up with uh like another standalone headset marketplace
Yeah,
somehow. I
agreed. Yep.
mean, we can't. I don't imagine that Facebook will be the only standalone option forever.
Mhm.
So I mean, and you would imagine that at some point Apple is going to start making that ecosystem. Look, bringing in like the rumors of Apple
Yep.
jumping into the space. So maybe this is HTC realizing like if we're gonna do it, we better do it soon.
You have to do it now because Apple's gonna be very controlling. I mean, so it's interesting that you brought that up because, I think about just how Facebook's VR compares to Apple's mobile ecosystem. And once Apple comes in, Apple's going to have a very, very heavy hand on what runs through their ecosystem, which is just, it's on brand for them, right? I'm not saying
Google and Google recently has kind of more or less officially stepped out of VR for the time being, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and we talked about that on a recent episode where that didn't seem to be as big of a priority. So if there is going to be an open and more like Android version ecosystem for VR, HTC can potentially do it. And just to finish the thought that I had on the last thing, where it's just like, they surprised us in the past. So in terms of what they have coming up, I agree 100% that a big portion of that was Valve.
Mm-hmm.
But there is the potential still for them, even on their own, to be working on something and have been working on something for the last 5 years.
Yeah. That
would be a potential game changer into what comes next. And the one of the takeaways that I had from the article was how they fit like normal glasses and felt very, very lightweight. And granted, that's not wireless or tetherless, but when I put the Oculus headset on, it still feels like I'm wearing a headset.
Yeah.
And if I could put just goggles on and HTC was to kind of push in that direction, that would be kind of cool, right?
I agree.
So,
I didn't even think, but and so maybe, I mean, see, hearing that though also makes me think that it's not a standalone device.
True.
So,
yeah.
Which could negate, and just to be clear, everybody, this is pure speculation on our part. Like, this is assuming assuming their HTC is working on a standalone that they want to release soon. It would have to have some kind of a store, you'd assume, and that's where kind of all this discussion goes of, well, could HTC potentially provide us that store? Or like I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe this device is going to be just focused on streaming. And if so, then I feel like if they were to do that, I mean, that would get rid of the pressures of having to create their own software store for a standalone device. Mm-hmm. And then that would also allow them potentially to, I mean, other than the battery, they could have less hardware on the headset if it's not a standalone device. And so maybe that would give you the opportunity to make it much lighter. And then maybe that could be the benefit here is, I mean, maybe their outlook is, hey, we're going to fit this niche in the market that hasn't been satisfied, which is, giving you as light a headset as possible, because the Quest, for as light as it is, still people talk about it being too front heavy and because it has to have all those components in it. So I wonder if, possibly HTC could be releasing some kind of a product that only does wireless streaming. Mm-hmm. And
again, we're completely speculating here. So.
Yeah, we are.
But I guess where I was trying to go with that, just to give more of a macro view of like my thought process, was the fact that we look at the Quest and what the Quest has done, and wireless VR or standalone VR is amazing. We knew that was coming. But when we go back to 2016 and we listen to our own episodes, right, and what the community was wanting, there's a slew of things that we were hoping to see from VR in the next 5 years, 10 years, 2 decades, whatever the case is. And one of that was being able to wear a headset that was comfortable enough that you could be in it for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
And so, granted, I would say that maybe sometimes we give a little too much weight to the wireless aspect or standalone aspect that the Quest has done. But can you imagine? And again, this also comes down to the fact that HTC is very far into the enterprise side as well. But imagine being able to put just little goggles on that you don't feel, they feel completely normal, and you can be in them for hours at a time, rather than, you know what I mean? And so here's the thing, even if it ends up being wired, they're still providing, like you said, a product that fits a certain niche, right? People who want to be in VR for extended periods of time, who may not necessarily care about the wireless aspect or standalone aspect of it, but damn, it feels comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like a pair of glasses or just like some goggles over. So you know what I mean? Like this is where I'm saying, where, like, again, pure speculation, but I definitely get excited about the innovation, and it may not be the innovation that we were expecting, because we look at Oculus and Facebook, Oculus and Vive, and even, PlayStation now to a certain extent as like, okay, what are they competing at the same?
They're
Whereas,
setting the goalposts, whereas maybe like there's still room for other companies to come in and completely change the paradigm.
well, that too, but also, I mean, I was just trying to say, like, we're looking at an apples to apples, whereas, like, Oculus pushed the envelope on the Apple side of it in terms of standalone. What if HTC can push it on the Orange's side? You know,
no, that totally makes sense.
Again, either way, I think it's really exciting to see that there is something coming down the pipeline, and with them tweeting about it, I would assume, and you know what they say about when we assume, but I would assume that there's got to be something coming this year. I mean, it's only March, so if they're tweeting about it now, I would hope, and this is just the fan in me, I would hope that there's something coming down the pipeline before the end of 2021.
Yeah, no, I agree. And two things we haven't had a chance to kind of talk about that I think is going to be critical, regardless of assuming this is some kind of a VR headset. I think really what HTC needs to nail, and I hope they've learned their lesson from this stuff on the launch of the Cosmos, they really need to nail the tracking and the price.
Yep.
Because I mean, those are the two things that killed the Cosmos, I think. I mean, I think above and beyond, the thing that affected them the most is the negative perception of the tracking system in that headset.
Yeah.
Because it didn't help that they were still pretty expensive. But I think there would have been people willing to give it a shot if they thought that it was a true premium product, that it was going to give you, an experience at least on par with what Oculus was providing with the Quest and the Rift S. But, everybody was really let down by the accuracy of the tracking. And then on top of that, the fact that it was more expensive just kind of added insult to injury. So,
they just provided no incentive for people to jump in when there was a better alternative in many ways.
So I think, I mean, for me personally, for me to be interested in a device like this, I would have to hear that the device has great tracking. And then besides that, obviously having a good price tag also helps. I don't think that a company like HTC will ever be able, or anyone for that matter, except for maybe like an Apple, would be able to get the price down as low as Facebook. And to be clear, I think whenever we see the Apple headset, I don't think having a low price point is really going to be their goal anyways.
Yeah.
But I think Facebook has subsidized the Quest and the Quest 2 so much that really like the prices that people are paying for like a Quest 2 is actually artificially low. So it's a little bit,
but that's a console strategy too, right? And here's the thing: Facebook or Oculus can get away with it because you look at PlayStation versus Xbox, they lose money on the consoles because they make it back on the games.
Yeah,
Facebook can do that because they have the content and the software out there. So this kind of goes full circle back to what we were talking about, where if HTC wanted to subsidize the cost of the hardware, they need to have an ecosystem where they can make that money back.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just have a feeling that it would be very difficult. So I do think that the price is going to be higher. But so knowing that the price is going to be higher, or assuming, they really need to bring it when it comes to the device capabilities. And I wonder how all this, like with rumors of a Quest Pro now potentially coming out. And I have no idea where. I know that the legitimacy of a Quest Pro is real because that came from high up at Oculus, but for some reason I've seen rumors of like around $600 for something like that. So I'm curious as to what the capabilities of a Quest Pro might be like, but that also makes it tough for HTC too. So it's going to be an uphill battle, regardless of I think what they're releasing. But like you said, hopefully they're coming to the game with something a little bit different, so that they don't. I hope that that's what they do, because that'll give them a different opportunity to make a case for themselves. They don't have to be like, if you're releasing roughly the same type of a product, then you can't avoid a direct comparison.
Yeah.
So hopefully HTC is going to kind of come at this from a slightly different angle. That'll give them some sort of a benefit, because we need more competition in the space.
Agreed, man. All right. Well, this was a lot of speculation for an episode.
It was definitely like we have no like special knowledge on this. Like we haven't been discussing anything with any of these parties. So Take everything we say with a grain of salt, but on the same token, we've been in the space a while, and we kind of have an idea of what is more likely than not. So
exactly. Well, it's more so we have an idea of what we want to see in the space, because we've talked to a lot of people who are in the space and are wanting the same things. So it's exciting either way, regardless. And as just a VR fan and enthusiast, I'm excited for what 2021 has to offer, man.
Yep.
Cool. You got anything else?
No, I think we covered that topic pretty well. So
awesome.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this episode up. Thank you guys so much for listening. We truly appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, or if there's something you would like us to check out and chat about, please do connect with us there or on Twitter at EverythingVive. Still got the same Twitter handle, so gotta make sure we point people to the right direction. And if you like the content and want to support the channel in a free and easy way, just hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Other than that, Ronnie, you take care, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.